Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Acronym Academy. A huge thank you, first off, for all the amazing support you've shown us. We really appreciate it.
We certainly do.
Okay, so today, we're tackling something essential. We're decoding the alphabet soup. For anyone looking at the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam, or really anyone just stepping into the IT world these days.
Yeah, it's crucial stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These acronyms, they aren't just, jargon. They're the building blocks. Understanding them is key to getting how the cloud works, and honestly, key to succeeding in this field. Think of them like a secret code.
A code to this huge digital universe. And what's really interesting is how these little acronyms, they represent massive core services and concepts. Knowing them isn't just about passing a test.
Right.
It's about speaking the language of cloud computing. It's about seeing how everything connects, like opening doors to different parts of this vast digital city.
Love that analogy. Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's decode some serious cloud power. Where should we start? Foundational concepts.
Sounds good. Let's lay the groundwork. First up, obviously, AWS Amazon Web Services. The giant cloud platform we're talking about.
The big one. But probably the next most common one you'll hear is EC2.
Definitely. Elastic Compute Cloud. The simplest way to think about it is like renting a virtual computer. Basically a server in the cloud whenever you need it. Scalable compute power on demand.
And that leads us into those as-a-service models, right? Like IaaS.
Exactly. IaaS is infrastructure as a service. Here, you're renting the basic building blocks, servers, storage, networks. The analogy I like is you get the land and you build your own house from the ground up. Lots of control.
Okay, so IaaS is the land. What about PaaS?
PaaS, platform as a service. Now you get the land and the foundation is already laid. Maybe even the framing is up. You just bring your furniture, your applications. The platform databases, operating systems is managed for you.
Less management, more focus on the app itself. Makes sense. And then there's SaaS.
SaaS, software as a service. This is the fully furnished apartment. You just move in and use the software. Think email, CRM, office tools online. You manage nothing but your usage.
Got it. IaaS, PSS, control versus convenience.
Yeah.
I sometimes see KS phase 2.
Good point. KS usually means compute as a service, often just referring to the core compute like EC2. Face is function as a service, think AWS Lambda. It's about running small bits of code, functions, without managing any servers at all, like a vending machine for code execution. Super efficient for specific tasks.
Okay, great foundations. Now, how do we connect all these things securely? Let's talk networking.
Right. The core of your private network space in AWS is the VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. This is your isolated section of the cloud, like your own private secure apartment within that huge AWS building.
Your walled garden. How does it connect to the outside world, the internet?
For that, you need an IGW, an internet gateway. It's basically the main door, the entrance and exit for your VPC to the public internet.
Okay, door to the internet. What about security within the VPC? I hear ACL and SG.
Yes, 2 layers. ACLs, network access control lists, are like security guards for a whole floor or section of your apartment building, or subnets. They check traffic going in and out of the subnet. They're stateless.
Stateless, okay. And SG.
SGs, security groups, are more like the specific lock on your individual apartment door, your EC2 instance. They control traffic directly to and from the instance, and they are stateful, meaning if you allow traffic in, the return traffic is automatically allowed out.
Stateful firewall for the instance, stateless for the subnet. Got it? And how does the internet find my service? That's DNS, right?
Exactly. DNS, domain name service. The phone book of the internet. Translates human-friendly names like Acronym Academy into IP addresses computers understand. AWS has Route 53 for this.
And IP addresses themselves. CIDR.
CIDR, classless interdomain routing. It's just a modern, flexible way to define ranges of IP addresses for your VPCs and subnets. More efficient than the old class system.
What about NAT, for private instances needing internet?
Yeah, NAT gateway or instance, network address translation. It lets instances in a private subnet, ones without public IPs, initiate connections out to the internet, say for updates, without allowing the internet to initiate connections to them. Security thing.
Makes sense. Oh, and web application firewall.
Right, WAF. That sits in front of your web applications, protecting them from common web exploits like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. Layer 7 protection.
What about those network interface acronyms? ENI, ENA, EFA.
Good ones. ENI is an elastic network interface, basically a virtual network card you can attach to an instance. ENA, Elastic Network Adapter, provides higher network performance for instances, and EFA, Elastic Fabric Adapter, is for really high-performance computing, HPC, and machine learning workloads, specialized stuff.
Okay, network foundations are clear. Let's move on. Where does all our data live? Storage and databases. S3 has to be first.
Absolutely. S3, Simple Storage Service. It's object storage. Think of it as a virtually infinite digital locker. You can store almost anything there. Website assets, backups, big data analytics files. Highly durable, highly available.
Infinite locker, I like that. What about storage for EC2 instances, like a hard drive?
That's EBS, Elastic Block Storage. These are persistent block storage volumes, like virtual hard drives that you attach to your EC2 instances. Your operating system usually runs on an EBS volume.
In EFS.
EFS is Elastic File System. This provides scalable file storage. The key difference from EBS is that multiple EC2 instances can access the same EFS file system simultaneously. Great for shared data sets.
Okay, object block file. Got it. Databases. RDS is a big one.
Huge. RDS is the relational database service. It makes it easy to set up, operate, and scale relational databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server, etc. in the cloud. It manages patching, backup, scaling for you.
So RDS manages the database. What's RDBMS then?
RDBMS is the relational database management system itself, the software like MySQL or PostgreSQL. RDS is the AWS service that manages the RDBMS for you. Subtle but important distinction.
Ah, okay. And DMS for moving databases.
Correct. DMS, Database Migration Service, helps you migrate databases to AWS easily and securely, often with minimal downtime. Supports migrating between different database types too.
Cool. What about newer types? QLDD.
QLDB, Quantum Ledger Database. It's a fully managed ledger database. Think blockchain-like features, transparent, immutable, cryptographically verifiable transaction log, useful for systems of record.
And speeding up databases. DAX.
Yep, DAX is the DynamoDB accelerator. It's an in-memory cache specifically for DynamoDB, Amazon's NoSQL database. Drastically speeds up read times for demanding applications.
Last one in this group, ECR.
ECR, Elastic Container Registry. It's a managed Docker container registry. If you're using containers, this is where you store, manage, and deploy your Docker container images within AWS.
Awesome. We've got compute, networking, storage. How do we make things run efficiently and, crucially, scale up and down automatically?
That's where load balancing and scaling come in. ELB, Elastic Load Balancing. It automatically distributes incoming application traffic across multiple targets like EC2 instances or containers. Think of it as a traffic controller for your web servers, preventing any single one from getting overloaded.
Keeps things balanced and scaling automatically.
That's the magic of ASG, Auto Scaling Group. You define rules based on metrics like CPU usage, and the ASG automatically adds or removes EC2 instances to meet the demand. It ensures you have the capacity you need, but you're not paying for idle resources. An automatic valet for your virtual servers, perhaps.
I like that. What about handling messages or decoupling systems? SQS and SNS?
Key services for microservices and decoupled architectures. SQS, Simple Queue Service, is a fully managed message queuing service, like a post office for digital messages between different parts of your application. Helps with reliability and scaling.
Okay, a queue and SNS.
SNS, Simple Notification Service. This is a publish-subscribe or pub-sub messaging service. You create a topic, publishers send messages to the topic, and subscribers, like email addresses, Lambda functions, SQS queues, receive those messages. Good for sending notifications or fanning out messages to multiple recipients.
Makes sense. We mentioned containers with ECR. How do we run them? ECS and EKS.
Exactly. ECS, Elastic Container Service, is Amazon's own native container orchestration service. It's deeply integrated with AWS. EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, is the managed Kubernetes offering. If your team prefers Kubernetes, EKS lets you run it on AWS without managing the control plane yourself.
2 flavors of container orchestration. And what about the template for launching instances? AMI.
AMI, Amazon Machine Image. It's basically a template that contains the operating system, application server, and applications required to launch an EC2 instance. You use AMIs as the starting point for your instances.
Okay, that's a powerful set for making things run and scale. Phew, that was a lot, right? Quick pause here. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, hitting the like button really helps us out. Share this with anyone studying for the CCP, and definitely subscribe to Acronym Academy for more deep dives like this.
Yeah, definitely hit subscribe.
All right, last big group. We need to talk security, management, and maybe some development tools. These are critical.
Absolutely paramount. Let's start with availability. AZ, Availability zone. These are physically separate data centers within an AWS region. Designing your applications to run across multiple AZs is key for high availability and fault tolerance.
Redundancy is built in. How about speeding up content delivery globally? CDN.
CDN, Content Delivery Network. AWS's service is CloudFront. It caches your content, like videos or images, in edge locations around the world, closer to your users, so it loads much faster for them.
Essential for global reach. Now, the big one for security, IAM.
Yes, IAM, Identity and Access Management. This is fundamental. It's how you securely control access to AWS services and resources. It's the security guard and the key master. You manage users, groups, roles, and crucially, their permissions, who can do what.
Master key, indeed. What about managing permissions across multiple accounts, SCP and OU?
Right. If you have multiple AWS accounts, you'll likely use AWS organizations. Within that, OUS, organizational units, let you group accounts, and SCPs, service control policies, allow you to set permission guardrails that apply to all accounts within an OU or the entire organization. Centralized control.
Okay, managing permissions at scale. Protecting data itself, KMS.
KMS, Key Management Service, makes it easy to create and manage cryptographic keys and control their use across AWS services, essential for encryption both at rest and in transit.
And securing logins, MFA. Multi-factor authentication as an extra layer of security for signing in. Usually something you know, password, and something you have, like a code from an app or device. Highly recommended, especially for root users and IAM users. Definitely. How does AWS identify everything? ARN?
ARN, Amazon Resource Name. Every single resource in AWS, an EC2 instance, an S3 bucket, an IAM user has a unique ARN. It's like a universal ID used in policies and API calls.
Universal ID, got it.
Yeah.
SSL/TLS certificates.
ACM. ACM, AWS Certificate Manager, handles the complexity of provisioning, managing, and deploying public and private SSL/TLS certificates for use with AWS services like ELB or CloudFront, makes HTTPS easier.
Nice. What about support? TAM.
TAM, Technical Account Manager. If you have enterprise support, you get a designated TAM as your primary point of contact, providing guidance and advocacy within AWS.
And guidance from moving to the cloud, TIF.
TAF, Cloud Adoption Framework. It provides guidance and best practices from AWS, organized into perspectives like business, people, governance, platform security, and operations to help organizations plan their cloud journey.
Framework for adoption. Okay, shifting to development, API.
API, Application Programming Interface. This is fundamental to how software components interact. AWS itself is largely operated via APIs. Services talk to each other using them.
How developers talk to AWS. What about from the command line? CLI.
CLI, Command Line Interface. A unified tool to manage your AWS services directly from your terminal using commands. Great for scripting and automation.
And for building applications using AWS services. SDK.
XDK, Software Development Kit. AWS provides SDKs from many popular programming languages. Python, Java, JavaScript, etc. They provide libraries that make it easier to use AWS APIs within your code.
Tools for coding. What about managing the infrastructure with code? IAC.
IAC, Infrastructure as Code. This is a huge concept. Instead of manually clicking in the console, you define your infrastructure, VPCs, EC2 instances, databases, in code files using tools like AWS CloudFormation or Terraform. Enables automation, versioning, and consistency.
Code is king, and automating the whole software pipeline.
CI/CD.
CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment or delivery. Automating the process of building, testing, and deploying code changes. Services like AWS Code Pipeline, Code Build, Code Deploy help implement this. Speeds up delivery and improves reliability. Wow, okay. We covered a ton of ground there. That's pretty much the core list for the cloud practitioner, wouldn't you say?
I think that covers the major ones, definitely. And you see how they all start to connect. Knowing these terms, this vocabulary, really is a massive leap forward. It means you can navigate AWS confidently and, well, build incredible things.
Absolutely, it's the language you need.
It really is. And, this raises an important question as we look ahead. As the cloud keeps evolving so rapidly, what are the next acronyms going to be? What new services and concepts will define the next wave of innovation? And maybe more importantly, how will you, listening right now, be ready to not just learn them, but really unpack what they mean?
That's a powerful thought to end on. Keep learning, keep building. Thank you all so much for joining us here on Acronym Academy. Don't forget to hit like, share this with your study buddies, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Drop your questions and comments below. We love hearing from you. We'll see you next time.